the It's Your Neighbor podcast. I'm Monte Reyement. We are back. Episode 26.
26. Let's go.
Co-host. You know this guy now.
You know me, Anthony Alvarado. I'm back in the house. It's Your Neighbor podcast. We got an exciting interview with Feeding America with literally my neighbor Liz. But before we get into that, how are you doing, man?
Dude, I'm going great.
Doing great. I like your vibe you got going on.
You know what?
It's summer now, so
we're doing Feeding America.
He's in vacation mode for sure.
There's no vacation for me.
I look vacation, but I'm not taking a break.
I don't know what that is yet. I don't know. I got to keep my head down and grind.
You got a little bit of a tan. Were you outside this weekend?
I was. We had a little
get
Sunday
together.
fun day with the company yesterday
right.
in my backyard,
right.
and we just chilled outside and let the kids go in the lake, and
That's right.
it was fun.
That's right. I can't wait to make the next one. I did not make it.
Yeah, you had to.
I wasn't invited, so at least you were invited.
Well, next Sunday.
You can
fun
come.
day.
You can come. Next Sunday fun day. Liz, you're in. You want to introduce our guest?
Yes. So we have Liz in from Feeding America. Liz, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Now, way better now that I get to hang out with you guys.
Yes. You got a chance to check out our sweet spot. You're here also looking real summer. How are you feeling this summer? Doing great or?
I'm feeling
Or no.
sweaty.
Or no? No, I'm just kidding. What is your title with Feeding America? Let's just do a little bit of a background of what you do there.
Sure. So my official title is the Vice President of Regional Strategy and Resource Development. It means nothing. I basically run all of our operations out of the Appleton building and half of our team in Milwaukee.
That
Yes.
sounds like a lot of work. For that. That title seems appropriate.
Yeah, it's broken up into two different pieces. So
Yeah.
you just say vice president, don't you?
Well,
No.
I can,
Yeah.
but we have other vice presidents, so it'd be like
Right.
just a cutthroat us to get to the top, I think.
So this
if
is like
we
another
didn't.
Rob in the house, really. I mean, operations. I mean, let's go.
Kind of.
So kind of. Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, a little different because you're feeding America.
Yeah. A little
Rob
different.
is feeding us, and we're feeding him this data right
Yes. Yes.
So.
So with that,
I don't know.
I love this comparison.
I'll just throw it out there.
Oh man. So for everybody that's out there outside of title, what is Feeding America all about? I know we're talking about a certain portion of Feeding America here in Wisconsin. So can you break that down a little bit for us?
Yeah, so officially we're Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. So we cover all 35 counties. You basically cut the state in half.
Mhm.
We
Yep.
cover the eastern side. There's approximately 500,000 people in Eastern Wisconsin that
Yep.
are facing food insecurity.
That's
and
crazy.
so our job is to get food to them. When we talk about how much food that we distribute, it's insurmountable, like for you to actually understand the need.
Yeah.
So we distribute over 35 million pounds of food. No one knows what that means. It's a
35
number,
million.
but that's what we do.
That's a lot of food.
And what's really cool is we work with over 400 food pantries to get it out. So we
No
have
kidding.
boots on the ground partners that know what the needs of the communities are. We get the food to them and they get it out to the people who are hungry.
So this is quite the operation.
Right. So half of the state,
Yes.
35 counties, millions and millions of pounds of food.
Correct.
Can
Yeah.
you put my mind around that?
It's
and
hard.
the partners, the network that you have, are really key to your success. Can we dive in actually a little bit more about the food insecurity here in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
I think that is something that
Yeah, I bet you a lot of people don't realize that.
don't realize how many
Like,
people
unless
are
you're
in need.
hungry, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm in a pretty good spot. You're in a good
Right.
spot. Like, we can just go get what we want grocery wise, and we
Mhm.
don't even think about it. But what is that like for somebody that,
Mhm.
like, how does somebody actually get to that point where they know they, other than the fact that they're super hungry all
Mhm.
the time?
Right. Well, everyone's story is different. And I think what's really hard for people to understand is when you picture someone that's hungry, most people are like picture someone who's homeless, right? They're
Yeah.
like, they have absolutely nothing. But that's truly not really who we serve the most of. Who we're serving
Mhm.
are people who live in homes, have jobs, and just cannot make ends meet.
Mhm.
Whether that is like, I need to choose between putting gas in my car and getting to work and paying the grocery bill, right?
Mhm.
So it's making those really hard choices. And so if we can bridge the gap for them, if we can say, hey, you can get your groceries this month on us so you can get to work, get your next paycheck, then you can be back on your feet. That's really most of the people that we're serving.
That's really interesting, especially when you think about single family income. You know, for me, I was a single dad for a little while. It's definitely opportunities or situations, challenges growing
Right.
up as a young parent where we needed food support, right? And so that I can resonate with. And so single parents, what about maybe just, people that just moved here, maybe people that are in a situation like COVID probably changed those numbers as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a ton of government support during COVID, which I'm not going to get into that boring
Yeah.
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
But all of it ended. And so if you have seniors who have fixed income and they were relying on $200 some a month coming in from the government and it drops down to $20 a month, where does that get them now? And so you look at almost any demographic like that, whether it's seniors, veterans, new immigrants, these are people who don't know how to work our system and just need a little bit of help.
Well, and also too, I would think the last, in particular, 2 or 3 years since COVID ended, inflation has been a huge. I'd imagine huge for you guys, like to say, shit.
I mean,
we got a bigger problem. Like this is a not just you're bringing people now in that maybe weren't going to be hungry before, who are now right on that borderline or crossed it, right?
That's right. I mean, what did they say? Grocery prices have increased at least 20+%, 26% or something like that.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And it's almost like the double-edged sword because people can afford less, but it's also more expensive for us to get it to them. So, when we talk about food, like we're not creating the food. We're actually a logistics company that's just moving the food from where it is to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And so it's fuel, which we all know what happened there. It's working with manufacturers, which the supply chain was demolished during COVID and still not working as well as we need it to. And so you're feeding more people with less of a budget, I guess, is really what it comes down to.
So where does I would assume the food is probably coming from, we're lucky in Wisconsin, we have a lot of farms and things like that, right? So I'm assuming that's where a lot of the food is probably coming from, or like where does it come? I mean, just making an assumption.
Yeah, that's a great assumption. And it is a big part of what we do is work with local farmers. We also work with food manufacturers. So there's a lot of local industry here that, Del Monte Canning Company or pizza companies. You look at like Palermo's and Bernatello's and all of those places. So we're really fortunate to be in the Midwest because we have a lot of that. So we work with those, but then also retailers. So we partner with the Pick and Saves, the Walmarts, those grocery chains. Those foods that they don't sell, they connect to us and we distribute them directly to our food pantry partners.
So I know we were joking before, but like the dented can thing from Big Daddy,
that's
real.
like real.
That's
a
real
deal, right?
It's real, but like it doesn't get you a discount. You're feeding another family.
Wow, that's even better. I'm just gonna start slamming cans down. My cart's gonna just slide a little bit. I'm gonna blame it on the cart wheel or something like
just
that.
Knock the whole shelf down.
I'm just feeding America.
I've never seen more cans. I volunteered at Feeding America. We just decided like a few years ago, like we were literally in the boxes, like getting the cans going, trying to separate them out. I mean, it's a big operation that you guys have going on over there.
Correct.
So you talk a little bit more about the building and how long your specific office has been around and kind of what that looks like today.
Sure. So we've been in Little Chute, technically, our Appleton location, for coming up on 9 years. Our Milwaukee location is our home base. We've been there for almost 45 years. Wow. And what we're serving the entirety of eastern Wisconsin with a home base that's in southern Wisconsin. It wasn't working out. We needed something a little more central. So out of Appleton, we do most of our logistics because we're the central spot. It's 44,000 square feet of food and friends. That's what we say, because with 300...
It's almost an acre big building.
It is.
The 88,000 one is
41.
2 acres.
Yes. So we fill it with food for people, and volunteers make us work. Like you came in and volunteered, but I was just giving you numbers earlier. Between 300 and 500 people a week come in to volunteer, and without them, that food wouldn't move. So we rely on people.
How did all this start? Like because I mean, you can't get to that much of logistics with just like, oh yeah, people are hungry. Let's just get all the farmers together and all the dented cans, and then let's just send them out. Like, where did this start? Like, who
food banking in general?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a date.
No, I meant like Feeding America. For Feeding America more in particular. Like,
well, locally, it was actually a Rotary group in Milwaukee that started the food bank in Milwaukee. And what they did was they got a donation of a bushel of apples from a local farmer, they said, like, let's get this out to our neighbors. And then it was, how do we build this up? And so that's really where it started here locally.
So a bushel of apples turned into 120,000 plus square feet of food.
Yeah.
Correct.
That moves in and out all the time. That's wild. That's crazy. Because I mean, that obviously a farmer recognized something at some point and said, hey, you probably like, I don't have enough. I have too many apples probably. And he's like, what should I do with them? And then just out of the goodness of his heart distributed them, and then realized there was probably a bigger problem. And then it became a bigger problem.
Oh yeah.
And you just continually solve those problems.
Oh yeah.
As you go. That's crazy.
Yep.
And to give us an idea of like Feeding America as a whole, nationally, what kind of impact or numbers could you give us when it comes to that? Because it has to be off the charts. I mean, you're talking about just one half of the state here.
Yeah.
And the amount of partnership and network and pounds of food that you're moving and distributing across the state to those in need. Food insecurity is obviously a big issue all across the country.
Yeah, so I can't give you national stats because I don't know them off the top of my head, but there are 400 Feeding America food banks nationwide. Okay. So you take us times 400 of us.
Wow. Yeah.
But then you also look at larger markets. I mean, Houston, Texas is one of the largest in the country. And then you're looking at Chicago, the Greater Chicago Food Depository. I mean, they're working with population numbers that we couldn't even imagine. Yeah. Right. But the way that is interesting about Feeding America as an organization is that we actually surpassed everybody during COVID, and we are now the #1 charity in the country.
Let's go.
Because we use the money so efficiently. So for us, $1 equals 4 meals.
That's right.
Nice. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
6% of your contributions go directly to our mission. So we work really smart, and people notice that.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I've partnered with Feeding America in the past. I mean, I know we've done some promotions with some other efforts I was a part of, raising dollars for Feeding America, and it's because that investment and the return on investment is so significant. And you don't see that in every nonprofit. And being a nonprofit leader myself, you know, looking at housing, looking at food, looking at mental health and wellness, it's all interconnected. And a lot of the conversation that we talked about in previous situations, just connecting and seeing you like throughout the neighborhood, is talking about some of the other initiatives that you have going on, supporting everybody from the Monthlies Project to your school-based initiatives, to your elder-based initiatives.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about how you are directly impacting today?
Yeah, I love that. And the way that I think about service is, on one hand, you have to continue to feed people, right? Like, the food has to go out the doors. But then on the other end of the continuum, you have to work on solutions. Otherwise, you'll never
solve the reason why you're in that. Right?
Exactly. You're always just going to keep spinning your wheel. So we have to do them both simultaneously. So you have to keep feeding people, but also work on solutions. And that's when you partner with people who are, for instance, we are partnered with all 11 recognized tribes in the state of Wisconsin. We purchase products directly from Indigenous growers, Indigenous farmers, producers, bring it into the warehouse, pack it up, and then distribute it out to the elders in those populations. So what we're doing is investing in their local economies and infrastructures. So hopefully it moves people out of that situation of needing those boxes, and they can just continue their own, sustaining on their own.
Yeah.
And so that's the end goal of a program like that.
And those initiatives are huge. I mean, when you take a look at one out of every 4 Indigenous individuals struggle with the food insecurity, or how much that even impacts the family and the children. I mean, those numbers are hard to capture. The same thing in like addiction rates, or some of those other impacts of those specific communities in Wisconsin. So, I mean, that's awesome that you have that direct initiative. What are some newer initiatives that you're excited about? Because I even have some growing initiatives, some local gardens. I mean, last time I talked to your leadership team, you were talking about starting some things like that. How's that going?
No, that's great. We do a hydroponics program with Hmong elders. And so we loan them all of our hydroponic machines. And what they're finding is that the Hmong elders, when they moved here, they missed the gardening. The gardening was great for their mental health, emotional health, and they can only garden 3 months out of the year here because the weather's Wisconsin. And so having hydroponics, they can do it year round, share their stories, pass it down from generation to generation, and still then harvest that food and take it back to their homes and share with their neighbors. So that's, one of those instances of listening to the community, what their needs are, and saying, hey, we have hydroponic machines. Can this help solve that problem for you? And so just kind of partnering that way.
That is.
What are the bigger challenges that you see right now aside? I mean, again, money, time, right? Like all of those things, but the kind of maybe something newer that maybe we aren't thinking about that we should be aware of, or something like that somebody's struggling with.
Just in community developing in general.
Yeah, like maybe for what Feeding America is, maybe what your biggest challenges are right now.
Sure. Honestly, it probably stems to the serve and solve situation. Often when you're talking about things in the community, people are like, oh, $1 equals 4 meals. That's incredible. Like, let's do box programs, 1 million of those. It'll solve everything, right? Yeah. And we're like, actually, you're just forcing food on people. We want people to have dignity in their choice. And that's going to be a little more expensive because we want to give them healthy, natural options. We want them to choose. We want to remove the stigma of going to those box lines and going to those pantries. How do we do that? And so it's that conversation of educating. I don't want to use that word, but
empowering.
And of how you can help people in the community gain their own access to the food that they want.
So it's more of like one of those situations where it's not, don't throw money at it, you know, because you might be creating a bigger problem.
100%. 100%. It's
like if I feel good, hey, I'm going to give you $1 million and I'm going to feed 4 million people or 4 million meals. But at the end of the day, you're like just enabling, right? Like to a degree, obviously you're still doing it out of the goodness of your heart, but you may be in the long run actually hurting more than helping.
Yeah. Let's have a conversation about where that money could be used the best.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
For sure.
And it sounds like stigma or things that are maybe have a negative connotation around food insecurity is really one of the root causes to this challenge, right? So that would eliminate maybe education or awareness about this specific need. And then, of course, I can't help but to think about some of my upbringing. Now, I don't share this too much, but you know, I mentioned that my dad had to look for food support. I had to look for support as well when I was a younger parent, using benefits to do that, right? That was a piece of that journey. But growing up, I just remember like my mom, for example, was a single mom, and she was so embarrassed by the idea of going to get support as a single parent, even for her 3 children. And, you know, the school would try to support us and there would be other initiatives, but just even going to the checkout and using a card or a specific voucher or something like that was stigmatized. And so we often went, you know, for a very short period of time, we went hungry where there wasn't food in the fridge. And so I remember what that was like growing up as a teenager and what we had to do to just fend for our own food and things like that. Now we had family and support and things were okay eventually. But I guess the point of it is even years later, as my dad was an adult and he had to go to a local Appleton program, he was embarrassed even just to show up in the line. And I went there with him. And immediately I was embraced by people that were kind, friendly, supportive. They guided us to the resources that he needed. He needed hygiene products. He needed basic needs, essentially. And not only did he get food that day, but he also was able to leave with some resources. And that combination is more of a comprehensive approach. Where do you see Feeding America kind of fitting into that kind of role of coming alongside community and helping in that way?
Right. Well, you kind of touched on the notion of some of our programs and the direction that we're moving. One is when we're working with our pantries, we talk about best practice in just the pantry themselves, right? So it shouldn't be you just hand them a box. It should be you let them go into your pantry and choose the things that are right for their families, for their culture, you know, whatever that is. But then how can we provide resources on site? So we have food share outreach professionals that can sit at the food pantry and roll people in food share.
Nice.
And so they may not need to go to the food pantry anymore. They can just go to the grocery store.
That's cool.
We also partner with Boys and Girls Clubs. We have a new program where the families can just order the food they want on an app. It's at the Boys and Girls Club when they go pick up their kids, so they don't have to abide by the pantry hours or you know good. That sort of thing. And they're already going there to pick up their kiddos, so they can just grab their food. And
a
bring
lot
it
of
home.
times, you know, single parents are working multiple jobs.
Exactly.
All those other, they just might not have time to go.
100%.
I mean, that's how it was with my mom. I mean, essentially, she had 3 boys at home, was working full time. And, you know, I mean, it was. I didn't want to go to the office and get any box of food and go home with that with my friends, like looking at me like, what's going on kind of thing.
Right.
And so having that kind of this little bit of privacy could go a long way. But the support is really what makes it different. I remember going to that food pantry in Appleton, and it literally was like that. Like, here's a checklist, here's some smiles. You're met with like compassion. And that's a huge piece I think that we're missing around this conversation is compassionate individuals showing up. So with that, I know when it comes to community development and community building outside of just kind of these broader challenges that you see around stigma, what are some other challenges here locally that maybe you haven't mentioned yet?
I think one of the hardest pieces is that this community is so supportive. Everybody wants to get out and create a new nonprofit or do another initiative.
Brown County has like the highest nonprofit rate in the country.
Which is incredible because it means that good people want to do good things.
Right. The Midwest serves.
Right. So one, I would say lack of collaboration. So one thing we always push for is like, who's already doing this work and who can we bring alongside us? So you just heard me mention a couple of nonprofits that we partner with because like, why not? We don't need to recreate the wheel. So maybe lack of collaboration in communication there, but also the importance of leading from behind. You know, if you say, hey, I see this problem, but you aren't part of that community, or you aren't a part of understanding what that issue really is like, you can't come in and just solve it for them.
Right.
And so learning how to have conversations and lead from behind, I think, is a really important skill that we're still working on.
It's like an observancy type of skill, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's listening to people and letting them tell you what their solutions are, not coming in and being like, hey, I'm happy to do this for you.
Right.
Like that's not what this is about. It's about listening to what they actually need.
So you're driving like more of a peer support initiative, maybe with lived experience would also be a benefit, right? Like if you have that experience, how great to serve.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's like
100%.
a mastermind almost. Like, hey, we've been there, but we're paying attention. How can we build each other up?
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And like we say, you know, like we have the resources to make change, but I don't have the experience. I need someone else to help us move forward in our initiatives.
Right.
Or like what I'm doing is useless.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to empower those people in the community to do that and other nonprofits to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking about empowering and inspiring people, one of the big conversations that comes on It's Your Neighbor podcast is the individual challenges of the individual. And so, being
is this a new segment?
No. This is just like you taking better care of yourself in the work that you do. Right? You're talking about serving the community and going out there and creating a lot. And as a vice president, I'm sure you have your workload cut out for you. So, how are you taking care of yourselves as you see one of these bigger challenges in the community isn't easy? How are you taking better care of yourself?
Oh, that's a really sweet question. I don't know. I'm a mom. I don't take care of myself. No.
Sometimes she sleeps.
Sometimes I eat food. You're like, wait a minute, don't you?
No, I would say that quite honestly, our organization has a fantastic culture. We take care of each other.
That's cool.
So we know if somebody needs a little help here and there, or if you need a little bit of time, we really do take care of ourselves. And I think that that's super important that you don't hold it against someone. If somebody needs to come in a little late because their daycare drop off was difficult that morning, right? It's having that conversation with everyone and creating that culture of supportiveness, so you feel that you can make the choices for yourself. To make sure that you show up every day.
I love that. I mean, culture really does matter. We just came out with one of our recent episodes. It was mental health within this workplace. And I think consistently every team member's like, we prioritize our health and wellness first. We check in on each other. We, you know, we have coaches and mentors.
I mean, that's big for me.
It's huge.
Right? Like that's everything, because if you have a chink in the armor, as we found, you know, it certainly starts pulling people back, and there's a withdrawal. And if you have a great culture and it's inviting and it's about abundance and it's, you know, everybody wants everybody to succeed, everybody kind of just shows up and they're in, and you flow better and you work harder for each other and you want to be there for each other. So, culture is probably to me the most important thing in any workplace, more than having super talented people. And we have that too, but having, I mean, we really do, but
we really do.
But that's how you keep them.
Right.
I mean, truthfully.
Yeah. And not pay them great.
You're like, but we have great culture.
Our culture is amazing. No, I'm just kidding.
We're so many opportunities to hang out. To work.
Yeah. So I make the same as everybody else, pretty much. So but that's how you do it. Is you provide that environment that's safe and empowering, and everybody's different in a way, but they're all here for the same goal and the same reasons, and that's to build it up. And be a part of it. It's cool.
That's the truth. Actually, thinking about self-care, funny thing, last time I volunteered, I remember I was alongside some other volunteer that was there, and we had a team of people there, and there was another team of people there. So 2 different organizations came together to pack food, right? One of the ladies was asking about this Whoop bracelet that I have on, and she ended up signing up for a free monthly membership after that volunteer thing. But the reason I bring it up, I think, is because, self-care really is important. Consistently, we have leaders come on like yourself that say, hey, these are big challenges in our community, and we're working really hard to make Northeast Wisconsin a really special place to live. But often we dismiss ourselves often in leadership, and we put in so much work, and there's so much sacrifice that is made. And a lot of times, just sharing a little bit of tips about how you're taking care of yourself can literally maybe change the culture at a workplace. And, Feeding America, you're continuing to grow, but I'm sure you see challenges every single year. And since COVID, I'm sure that wasn't easy. But moving forward, what are you guys most excited about this next year? And what are you preparing for going into the new year?
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you guys, every time I'm going down the highway, you have like this hunger initiative and you're partnering with Charlie Barron's and you're doing this and you're doing that. And it's like, you guys, you're not stopping.
Yeah. So I would say that we're preparing for what we know is happening economically in the country. We know that it's a tough time for everybody, which, as I alluded to earlier, means that the need grows and how much money and resources we need to put into fighting that grows at the same time.
Yeah.
So we have that in the forecast. But what we're doing right now is giving our teams the tools to combat that at the highest level. So we're really investing in our team, kind of how you said that earlier, finding people who are living in the communities that we're serving to better inform our work, but also are really great fundraisers, are really great communications people, are really great people to tell our story so people know that the work we're doing is important and want to join us.
Yeah.
So that's, we know what's coming. We know it's going to be a tough year, but we're prepared for it and our teams are too.
I mean, you're seeing the economy. It's impacting all of us.
Everybody.
We're in the real
Everybody's
estate
affected.
market.
Yeah.
Everybody's affected.
Everybody's affected.
Where you eat, where you work, where you live. I mean,
Everything.
All those things.
Every single thing is more expensive now than it was a few years ago.
And we're doing the same thing. We're investing a lot of time in our team and really developing not just our realtors, but our core staff. And, when people are ready to buy a home, we'll be here, But at the end of the day, building those long-term relationships is really exciting. And I think, looking at you guys and what you're doing in this specific, adventure, if you will, on this side of the state, I mean, we should be applauding you. I mean, there's tons of work. I've watched you guys for years. I've come alongside you guys, just spoke to staff, and it's impressive. Every time I connect with you guys, you have something new going on. And I think it's really exciting that you were able to take such a big issue and also talk about it in a relatable way. I mean, your marketing, your communications, your initiatives, your programs, they do it in a way that allows you to have that conversation. And you said that isn't always easy discussion to have, right? So good job.
Oh, well, thank you. No, I really appreciate it. I really do. It's been 8 years of watching, those things develop because we weren't always good at it. So I appreciate you calling that out. We're getting better.
Of course.
Well, I mean, it takes time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting better every day too.
Getting better.
Yeah.
At least we'd like to think so.
You have a building covered in beautiful vines now. So moving on up.
Hey, I did not. If you would have asked me 6 years ago when I started in real estate that I'd be sitting here doing a podcast and, bringing awareness about feeding America to Northeast Wisconsin, I'd be like, good job, Monte.
Good job, Monte. Good job, man.
Good job, future self.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for pulling this together so I can talk about it. The more we can share it, I appreciate it.
We're ready. I see what you're saying.
All right. You get it.
All right. So this is the portion where we get to flip it. So now you're the host.
Your face is like, yeah, so
that's so awesome. We're on eye contact now.
Yeah, I was like, time to flip it, baby. So this is the flip it section. So this is where you get to be the host and ask us questions. So you can ask anything.
We do this with everybody
within reason, but really anything. I mean, it could be real estate related, community related, or just questions to me and Monte.
Okay, I'm always curious about real estate because I'm a retired house flipper.
Retired, huh?
I say retired because my husband says he refused to move out of the house that we moved into.
You can still flip other houses, right? You don't have to live in every single house. Man, I would have to live in like 30-some houses now. That would not be good. I'd be living in 5 at a time right now.
I mean, that sounds okay.
No, not okay.
Every day it bounces a new one.
Yeah, depending on your mood.
No.
So my question is,
I like my house. I'm good.
What is the forecast in the real estate market? I know that you guys just said it's rough right now. What does that look like? What can we plan for? How can I convince my husband to sell our house?
Well,
good question.
2 things right now. So we know with the election coming up, generally, not all the time, but we know what happens when we get closer to election. All of a sudden, gas prices get better, interest rates get lower. The incumbent always wants that, like, hey, look what I did for you lately thing, right? So there's going to be, I think, in the next 4 months, there's probably going to be some interest rate drops. We're already seeing that. It went down about 0.5% last week to 6.5%. So I always say this though, like home prices are never going to go back down unless you can figure out how to time it. So, but they're always appreciate. In the history of the world, land has never gotten cheaper. Houses don't get cheaper unless they aren't taken care of. So you're always looking for a deal, right? Like that's always, as a flipper and a real estate investor too, I'm always looking for a deal. Generally for me, they're home runs. They just fall in my lap, and I don't play with tight numbers unless, like last winter I did a couple of times just to keep my contractors working, but that was it. So I would say, to answer your question, I don't know, like literally don't know for sure. I can just kind of figure it out and see what's, kind of like observation over the last few years and how things have gone. This is the second election now that I've been through since I started. And so I would know that rates are probably going to drop a little bit. I don't ever think we'll see 3s again. Definitely not 2s, but probably 4s, maybe upper 4s into 5s. If you get into 5s, it's going to be crazy again. So if you're looking to sell and get out of your house, that would be the time to do it.
Like noted.
Yeah, tell your husband, hey, we're going to get rich.
To the husband, thank you.
Not that I don't want to be your neighbor anymore.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, the other thing is too, houses over 450, 500,000, those, there are some deals in that category. Like you get over 500, it's weird to say now, like a $500,000 house is almost a fixer upper, like in some places, or some things are there, but that's reality. So, but if you're looking in that category, you might be able to find a deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the number one questions again and again.
Yeah.
I was certain.
Yeah.
No,
but I had to ask.
Yeah, of course.
It's all good. It's like a weekly update. That's great.
Great. Nothing has changed.
Interest rates are the same. Okay.
If somebody ever tells you they know
interest
that
rates
that's
are down
going to
half
happen,
a point and moving on.
We were supposed to have 3 drops last year and we didn't get any.
Yeah.
So
yeah, call out to Executive Mortgage, the episode. I was actually just watching it earlier today.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's like the 30-year continuum. The prices of homes, they'll continue to go up.
Yep.
It's good equity. Invest in it. Refinance if you want to. Interest rates have gone down slightly, but they're pretty much
they're still historically average though.
Yeah, like 6 to 7.
7 is the historical average.
Yeah. So I
for
mean,
a
really,
mortgage.
we're right there.
Yeah.
Now maybe low inventory, other things.
Low inventory, affordable housing issues, which ties right in with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Hard to buy a house.
Yeah. Hard to buy a house, hard to eat, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool. What else you got?
Okay. Who was your favorite nonprofit that you brought in besides me?
Oh man, it's just putting the
besides her.
Oh man.
You can't pick me.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna do it based off of like giving some love to our team. So right now, Rise Up Experiences and We Empower, they have the most successful episodes on It's Your Neighbor podcast from a nonprofit perspective. And Big Brothers Big Sisters was awesome. There's other nonprofits that we had. But those two, they're in-house. And so Ashley, she's in-house. Nadine, she's in-house. And to see our team not only care about real estate, but most of I think almost every single team member either has a nonprofit or is leading a nonprofit or serving a nonprofit in this organization. So we are a group of entrepreneurs, and those two organizations specifically are amazing.
There's a lot of giving going on here.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I get to sit with my podcast co-host every time. His nonprofit's my favorite.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
All right. I see you. I see
Every
you.
episode.
Here is just big.
Every episode. But we've had Big Brothers, Big Sisters in here. We've had some really good ones. So but again, to Anthony's point, like everybody here has a giving heart, and a giving message for the most part. And that's something that we really want to do, is just not, and again, this is something Rob brought up last week, but like the whole word give back, we don't want to be recognized as the give back people, because in order to, a lot of times you're taking and then you're giving it back. We just want to give, and we don't expect anything in return. We know that it'll come. We just don't know where it's going to come from. So if we're just deliberately giving, good things are going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, just like our latest, the live with the Rise Together conference that was here at Stadium View in Green Bay. We were there, live hosts.
That was cool.
It was awesome. Talking about a group of women just really being inspired and educated and empowered. And some guys, because it was both, right, this year?
Yeah.
So you said some male attendants, and that alone, just showing up in that space, educating, communicating, there's so much excitement in bringing back a discussion. with this group.
There's a lot to be said. I mean, we have, we live in the social media world, and now the algorithms have figured out what we like. So there's not as I don't think you can broaden your horizons as much as you could have a few years ago, because the algorithms, the For You pages, right? They're all like dialed into what do we like? Like my For You page is all fishing. So it's literally all fishing and dogs.
I was afraid of what he was going to say.
He's like, my For You page is all...
Hey, I got nothing to hide there, but it's like dogs and fishing. That's literally what my For You page
is. It's like all
is.
photography.
Oh, yeah.
And now card tricks, which I'm trying to learn a few card tricks. But let's figure that
wholesome.
out. Right. So that's where it is. But again, like, I'm not getting the same, like, I guess I don't even know how to say it, but the same, like, the blinders are tighter now, so to speak, and I can't see outside of that as much. So I think, like, for us to be that type of company that's going out there and doing those sort of things and giving, and to be able to be invited to Rise Up Experiences conference and to be able to speak in front of majority of women and provide value. And I think that's the biggest thing, is people are thirsting for knowledge and value and wanting that. And that's where I think that's part of our core values, is provide value, expect nothing in return, and in return, we get it.
I mean, literally, just for example, like in the real estate market, we had somebody from the southern part of the state just basically be like, I don't know how you guys are doing this up in Northeast Wisconsin, because down by us, it's kind of cutthroat. I mean, this market's hard, and when you look at us as an organization, to be partnering alongside community organizations isn't just for good measure or good marketing. It is literally because it is something that we do truly care about. I mean, we have a group of individuals here that grew up in this community, and we really want to support that community. And I've been working in a nonprofit for 12 years now. And so this is something that I do, and this is something that I very much love, is community development and building. But it isn't always easy. And I think partnership and collaboration are absolutely key. So even for Take Action, I'm already thinking, like, after you leave here, how can we come alongside Feeding America and help support some of the initiatives that you have? So with that being said,
what's the answer to that?
What is the answer to that? If anybody is listening, how can we support Feeding America today? You like that wrap up?
That was a good segue.
That's a nice, good segue.
I know.
Yeah, you had no idea it was coming.
Like, it was like a perfect bounce pass, quick. And I didn't even.
That's right. That's why. There it is.
Softball.
Knock it out of the park.
So if we wanted to support Feeding America, how could we do that?
Or how can anybody support Feeding America?
Well, I mean, the easiest way, and I'm always going to drop the ball on that, which is supporting us financially. As I mentioned before, $1 equals 4 meals, but it's not just that. Right. It is, you are literally providing a dad the meal to get his kids fed until his paycheck hits, right? Yep. It's that, those are the stories, and those are the true impact of what those dollars do. I just always have to use our buying power, because that's what makes the difference between us going to a manufacturer and buying a semi-load of food. We can get that for a fraction of the price of what it would cost for you to go to the grocery store and bring that, right? So that's why I always push on those kinds of things. But the other piece is volunteerism. I need you guys in the warehouse now that you want to see it.
Yes,
I don't know if it's going to be pizza day, if it's going to be...
We should do pizza day. We get a whole outfit. We get to be in a cooler and stuff. Right?
There's a pizza day?
There's a pizza day.
There's a pizza day.
Yep, you just label pizzas.
Oh, I thought we got to eat pizza.
Well, no, maybe.
But that would be the opposite of Feeding America. That would be feeding you.
Feeding the volunteers. That's a different initiative and program. All right. So what you're saying is we can get pizza
Can we buy
afterwards.
some pizzas that we give back that way?
You can buy pizzas.
Do you have a pizza oven?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, there we go. We're making a pizza.
We have a beautiful lunchroom.
If you're going to tease me with pizza day, I'll come and wrap pizzas, but I want to eat a pizza.
I want to eat a pizza, so we're going to eat pizza.
You know what that does to me when I smell that, even cold?
Oh. All right, truth is, do you eat pizza anymore? Now that you see so many pizzas at work.
I know, right?
You eat pizza, right?
Yeah, I still eat pizza.
Cold pizza or?
Cold pizza?
Yeah, do you like cold pizza?
Nobody eats cold pizza.
No.
Come on. That's gross.
I don't want cold pizza.
I don't do cold pizza anymore either. I just wanted to test you.
You're not 21 anymore.
That's right.
After a night out.
Cristiano's is the best.
Yeah, but he's also a new dad, and so any food is food.
Dude.
True.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like cold pizza out of the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah.
You're not doing that
That's
anymore.
like 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it. It's lukewarm. That's fine.
Lukewarm. Anyways,
new dad.
We're going the weeds.
So volunteer.
Yes. Thank you.
We can get you guys a
way to take it. You're still the host. You're still the host.
Keep us going. All right. So volunteerism.
Yep.
Come on over. Where do we find you? How do we get a hold of you?
Yeah. Pretty simple. feedingamericawi.org. If you go there, you can donate there and you can sign up to volunteer there. The whole volunteer schedule pops up. Just pick whatever works best in your schedule. Show up. We do a quick orientation and we get you to work.
Heck yeah.
We'll do that.
Take Action's going to have to come on over there. So
We'll do a little content day too and field trip it for everybody that can't go.
That would be sweet. And then it literally is like right in my backyard. Pretty much. Not really, but because there's no houses.
How long is this pizza volunteering go on? So then I can eat. I need to plan my day that day.
They're usually 2.5 hours, and then we'll keep 30 minutes to feed you after.
And the last time I was there, they had a sample deck going on. I don't know if I could talk about this, but I tried chips that tasted like crazy flavors.
Wait, so you got to eat?
I did. They were like, "Here, do you want these chips that taste
y'all made me look bad?
That taste
but
like
Anthony's over there smashing chips for half an hour.
I don't know what that was.
I don't know what they were giving us. They were like, "Try these chips." I'm like, "I will try all those." So it was like
that
crazy.
was not a sanctioned event.
That was no. This was like afterwards. They were just randomly in the kitchen.
Because you came from Metallica Day.
Yeah,
so that was not a normal day.
No, that was.
Wait, there's a Metallica day.
There's a Metallica day.
Now I'm excited.
He's so excited,
dude.
There's pizza day, Metallica day. This place sounds amazing. You guys got to volunteer there.
Dude, they were playing Metallica. We came in. I saw Lars there. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. Have you worked with Metallica? Like, have you met Metallica?
No, they do a national thing, and then so they choose a day, and then we have
that's it.
Metallica Day.
All right. Well, tell them to come by this year, and we want to do a concert, and let's get it going.
Well, that's good.
On it.
I'm just kidding. Metallica's pretty hard to book, actually. All right. Thank you so much, guys. This is Anthony Alvarado from the It's Your Neighbor podcast. This is episode 26 with Feeding America. Thank you so much, Liz, for being in the house.
Thanks, Liz.
If you want to go ahead and check out an opportunity to volunteer or just come along financially, just go to feedingamericawisconsin.org, wi.org. We'll leave that in the notes. Other than that, thank you so much for being on the show.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Liz. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Cool. That was cool. That was fun.